And my exact words were, the world must have Iron Maiden in it.
Hello, and welcome to Maiden Voyages, a podcast dedicated to analysing, discussing, dissecting, and sometimes commiserating the discography of the world's greatest heavy metal band, Iron Maiden. Well, most of the time. We've been going off on a few tangents recently, interviewing musicians that Iron Maiden has impacted in some way and covering some other albums. And today we've got our most direct connection to the band yet. But before we do that, let's introduce ourselves. So
I'm Blev, an historian of sorts, as you all know by now.
I'm Sam, a writer of sorts, and today we're joined by a man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him an introduction anyway. Frontman of Wolfsbane, esteemed solo singer, and of course ex-singer for Iron Maiden, Blaze Bayley. Blaze, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's an exciting time. I'm in the middle of the Silica Messiah tour. When I say that, we're having a small break and we've just done the first part, then we carry on in September. But in this break, we're actually doing some Wolfsbane shows as well. So it's very, very exciting.
How's the tour been going so far, Blaze? Because we were lucky enough to see the Swansea show and it was phenomenal.
Absolutely outrageous. The fans that have been with me for so many years, it's been incredible. People from the Silica Messiah era when it came out that have followed me all of the way through. It's been absolutely incredible. All over the places that we've played in Europe so far, through France and Germany and Holland, it's just been fantastic. Some of the shows have been sold out. We've had incredible reactions that I just didn't expect, really. So it's great. And what's very, very surprising is that fans who've been with me for so long and seen me like 20 times over the year, some of them say, well, this is the best tour.
Wow.
And it's the best they've seen me. And I think, well, we've done so many with different set lists and everything, and people often say, oh, well, that's my favourite or that's my favourite. But fans that go way back go, this, I think, is your best one that you've done. It's very surprising. And, of course, it's great to hear that. I've been going so long. For someone to say, well, this is really good, this is your best one, then there's a bit of hope there for the future as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible. What do you think it is about this tour in particular that's resonating with people?
The big changes, I think, are my voice from when I started with Silica Messiah has grown, and also my presentation is different. My values are a little bit different. Now I'm really trying to connect with my fans in a very direct way at my concert. So it's not really a rock show. It's more of a theatre show with heavy music. I'm trying to bring the lyrics to life in a way that I didn't before. I spent hours doing the lyrics. They mean the world to me. They're very important to me. But my values back then were singing the song and being energetic and everything. Now my values are bringing the song to life. Making it connect, because the lyrics and the way the melodies go together were very, very carefully chosen and worked on at the time. And when I look back now, I think my live performance did not really show the amount of care and how important those details were. Sing the song. But now it's bring the song to life. Show what these lyrics mean. And it's a different, I think that's a part of it, but I don't know. You know, I've watched some videos of the gigs and everything, and I thought, well, it looks okay. But I don't know.
It's definitely more of an okay. I
There's
mean,
magic
I think
in the room, that's difficult to see on a video.
Well, I think one thing that really stood out to me, at least, seeing you in Swansea a few weeks ago, was in between the songs, you're really effusive and you give these almost motivational speeches, and I think the whole evening feels very life affirming because of it. Like, I think you really bring an extra element to stuff just through virtue of, you know, really trying to talk to the fans and sort of lift them up as much as possible.
I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky to have any fans. So I think the fans that I've got, I just have an immense amount of gratitude for the support that I get. You know, that it makes it possible for me to live my dream, however cliched or cheesy that seems. If you're living a life where you don't dread getting up and going to work, I think you're very lucky, and I feel very lucky to be in a situation where my creativity is actually a huge part of my work, and it's appreciated. I have an audience, so the fact that my audience numbers in the thousands rather than the millions really doesn't matter to me. It's that my audience is there, and that's who I'm writing for, and that's who I'm making my records and my music for. There is a purpose to what I do, and I think you're very, very lucky in life if you have that, if you have a big reason, a solid reason to go to work and do things, then it's important, and I don't think you should trivialize that, and I certainly try not to.
Definitely. So if we can rewind the clock a bit, Blaze, to the birth of Silicon Messiah, I guess Silicon Messiah sort of begins the moment your time with Maiden ends. So thinking back to the moment your time with Maiden did come to an end, can you tell us a little bit about maybe what was going through your mind at that time, what you saw your futures being, knowing that that incredible journey of Iron Maiden wasn't going to continue?
Well, you're wrong in the first place, because to presume that Silicon Messiah started when Maiden finished means that you're not writing all the time. So the most challenging album was the X Factor, because I didn't have anything prepared for that. Luckily, I had a lot of time, and I started working on lyrics and ideas when I knew I would be making an album with Maiden. But when you get to the Virtual 11 era, then we've made an album and it's on the cards. We're going to make a third album together, is what I thought at the time. So as a writer, it's normal when you speak to a lot of creative people, you keep notes, you have your dictaphone, you have your notepad, and you make notes. So Silicon Messiah had actually started, but the difference is I didn't know it was going to be Silicon Messiah. I had Born as a Stranger, part of that cause, part of that idea. I had some ideas for that, and Ghost in the Machine and Stare at the Sun on my so I had those. I thought, oh, I can't wait to work with Dave Murray on this song, Born as a Stranger, I think we're going to do something very special on my third Maiden album. Then it's when that door closed, that's when you go, oh, what's next? Well, my instant thing is, all right, well, if I'm going to carry on, and maybe this wasn't the most sensible idea at the time, I've always been a singer in a band. I'll be a singer in a band. And so I'll put a band together, and these little ideas that I've had, that I've collected, like Born as a Stranger and Ghost in the Machine and Stare at the Sun, I'll turn those into proper songs. And with my other ideas, that songs that I thought I would like, subjects I'd like to tackle and things I'd like to write about, that would be enough for an album. And I know that there are enough musicians at that time anyway in the UK that are so good but never get the chance to be heard or make an album seriously. I thought, I know those guys are there, I just have to find them. And there was no restrictions. I had a huge help from EMI. They put out a press release for me. It went into all the major rock magazines, and it didn't say male or female or anything like that. It just said you have to live and breathe heavy metal. That's it. And you need to send a photo and a tape. I never said it should be men, old, young, whatever. There were no restrictions at all. I'm not ageist in any way, older or younger. You just had to have a great attitude. And that's how I found the guys. And I tried a bit of writing. I'd heard this trick, if you could call it a trick, from Spike, a mate of mine from Choir Boys. And he said one of the auditions that he went to years and years ago, they gave him some music and said, come back next week with whatever lyrics and melody you think would be best with that music. And I thought, oh, well, that's really sensible, because now you're trying out, you're going to know where someone's head is creatively. So I did the same, really. Guys that I liked, I said, okay, now the second part is, here's some music, here's some of my ideas lyrically and with melody. Now, what will you put? What's your idea? I'm singing this to you now. What would you think would go well with that? And that's how I did it. And the guys that I felt most comfortable with, those are the guys I started working with and writing with. And pretty soon we had enough for an album. And I managed to get Andy Sneap on board as a producer. I was one of the first proper singers, as in not one of the death belchers, and I don't mean that as an insult at all. That's a description. As a vocalist singer, then that he worked with, and he saw it as a challenge. And I said, these are the things I want. He said, yeah, I think we can do it. So we embarked on the journey of Silicon Messiah and had a lot of rehearsals. That was the main thing that I wanted, that if we were going to do it, the songs had to live in the rehearsal room. They had to feel good and complete in the rehearsal room before we got anywhere near the studio. And if you played them enough, you would have the sense that they weren't that good, or they were boring, or they were still exciting. They were meaningful. And that's what we did. We played them, we rehearsed, we refined them, we kept getting things together. Some were simple, some were more complex. So we had everything from Ghost in the Machine to The Launch, could have easily been a Maiden song. It very simple in its arrangement, direct, nice lyric and melody. So that was it. And I didn't shy away either. I loved working with the two guitars in Maiden. And it so happened that when I got the band together, that's what I'd ended up with. And I really like harmony guitars. And I also like this thing where you've got one guitar playing one part and the other guitar plays something else in the other ear and the arrangement comes together.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of exciting things which I hadn't done in my Wolfsbane time, because of course that's one guitar and it's this genius creative giant called Jace Edwards who can play just almost anything that he puts his mind to, and things that you go, is that actually possible to play? And he's done it, you know. So playing with two guitars was very exciting to me. So that's a big part of what I thought at the time. I know I want these vocals to be very clear and sound a little bit different to what I've had in the past. And I want to record in a different way. And also I want to see what I can do with the two guitars as well. And that is the essence of Silica Messiah. So you put on Silica Messiah and hear Ghost in the Machine, and there's this crunching, grinding noise which turns into a fantastic riff. And when you think about the song being about someone whose consciousness is trapped in a machine, and they've chosen that, they've chosen immortality. But immortality means not having a human body, not sensing things as we do as human. It means just existing as thought and consciousness. Then what is it to be human? And this is what Ghost in the Machine asks. And I think when you've listened to the song a few times, you kind of get the feeling that this is so ominous in the beginning. That's actually the life that you have chosen as this character that is trapped in the machine. And he gets to the center of the song, of the instrumental, and asks, do you want to live forever? And it's just horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And live, it's so much fun to shout that and get everybody shouting it back at you. It's incredible.
Well, I mean, you've touched on the thematics behind Ghost in the Machine, and it's a very dark song in many ways. And I think one of the things that defines Silicon Messiah to me is stylistically, it's a very dark album. The lyrics have quite a lot of dystopian sci-fi morals to them to me, and then musically it's a really heavy sounding album. What were some of your inspirations going into writing that material?
We were looking really to do this perfect storm of matching the lyric to the music to the melody. Get those three things to match. So on the launch, it's about dreaming of going into space to be an astronaut, and the things that you have to go through and what you have to endure. It's almost superhuman, really, except humans have done it. So it's about that. So what captures that? What is the launch? So we've got this at the beginning, and then it keeps up that tempo. So you can imagine, you have a sense, oh, this could actually be the launch of a rocket. It could be Saturn V or one of the really big beasts that they used to send up there. So that's where we were really musically. And it's metal, it's heavy rock. It's not trying to be Metallica or Machine Head or anybody else. It's traditional. It's all the values of traditional heavy metal that we had in Wolfsbane, that we had in Maiden. It's not trying to be grunge. It's not trying to be modern. It's trying to be metal and heavy metal and exist as its own. And I think in that way, if you put it on now, it's as relevant as it was 25 years ago musically.
You touched on the production of the record earlier, Blaze, as well. And working with Andy Sneap, who goes on to be, well, now he's a guitar player in Judas Priest, of course, but, he's a legendary metal producer. Silicon Messiah, to me, though, has always had like a much heavier, crisper sound than either X Factor or Virtual 11 did. Was that a conscious decision on your part? Was that something you worked on with Andy Sneap? Was that something you wanted to go into
when
with
you
this
listen
record?
to those albums? But I don't know if you know this or not from going through the X Factor. There were a lot of technical problems on the X Factor, and there were quite a few days where I had to look at the machines. It was an ambitious album. It was 65 digital tracks. And you have to have two big 32 track Mitsubishi machines, 64 tracks. So that was a lot, and you had to sync those machines up. It was very hot. So you get quite a few technical days on there. And one of the things I wanted was something that was very bright. And I said that to Andy Sneap at the time. I said, I really want my album to be bright as overall. So as we were going through the whole process, every sound, the amount of detail and the concentration levels, Andy Sneap is this incredible microscope, but sonically, that he, as we all get into things, the more you're in the studio, listen to the detail, the more details you can hear. Steve Harris is exactly the same. He'll go, but that noise, and you go, well, I can't hear anything. And then an hour later, you're going, oh, that noise.
Right.
No. So I said, I want this to be bright because I did feel that the X Factor sounded perfect for what it is. It tells its own story, but I did feel that story had been told. And for me, with my album, then I wanted something that was bright. We worked on that, and we didn't have it like super bright. All the cymbals are louder than anything else, but we did go, have we got that guitar? Is that in exactly the right place? Is that sound
right?
Should we have in layman's terms, a bit more treble on there, a bit more bass on there? And that's for every single thing that we did, from the sound of the cymbals to the bass drum to the toms to the guitars, the bass, the region of the guitar that you would turn it up, but the different mics that we mic'd up the drum kit with. Okay, we want to have more low frequency on the bass drum. You don't look at the EQ and turn up the bass. You go, okay, what mics have we got on that bass drum at the time? Let's try turning that one up and see if that gives us what we need before we mess with the heart of our bass drum sound. So many details that went into it. And I think just naturally, everything you do is a reaction to what you've just done. So if you've just done a bright, exciting album, you're going to want to do a dark, moody one next. It's human nature. And as an artist, that's how we are. So, yeah, I think that's what happened. We paid a lot of attention. It was so detailed what we did, from where the drum fills were, where they started, how many drum fills that we had. Because a very tiny gripe that I had was, I thought that on the X Factor, there weren't enough Nico McBrain dramatic fills. It was a different thing. I wasn't the producer of the album. That's it. It's what they wanted. It's the way that they did it and all of that. But I thought, one of the things I love about Maiden is these big dramatic drum fills. And I thought, I want big dramatic drum fills in my album. And so we looked out for places that we could do it. And Jeff Singer is an amazing wonderful drummer, but also one of his great strengths is he has a wonderful memory for what he's done. So I could say, well, we would tape the rehearsals and I'd go, this fill, Jeff, I really like this fill, what you did here. Can I have that? And he would learn it and go, yeah, and we'll start it here. We'll put it there. Okay. Oh, and this fill, I really like this thing that you did, but could I have it here? It needs to because if it doesn't start there, then it interferes with something. And there were all of those details, but we had a lot of rehearsals. We worked really hard to pick things to pieces, to put little bits in the right place. And then then it's the recording after you've done that. And that's as detailed. You're going deeper and deeper and deeper. It's almost like going from a telescope to an electron microscope and looking at subatomic particles going, yeah, now we've got them all in a row. That's how detailed it feels when you record it, when you're lucky enough as well to have the money. I had plenty of money, so I could make an album on the budget that I wanted. I didn't want to do a big, expensive, endless album, but I wanted to make sure that I had all the rehearsals and all the mixing time and recording time. And we managed to do that. We didn't have to compromise, really.
How long did all of that take? It sounds like it was a really forensic process. So from getting the band together to starting writing material, starting the rehearsals, and then going into recording, how long were we talking?
It was 6 months.
Okay.
Really. It was very, very intense, but it was about 6 months. I'd spoken to somebody before that worked at one of the smaller labels, and I said, what do you think is the best time to release an album? And they said February. So I thought, right. And then when I was doing Silica Messiah, I thought I'll get it ready so it can be released in February. And I had it ready for the February of that year, but through a series of unfortunate events, it came out the same week as Brave New World. And so it was stillborn and failed, and so began. Every album failed. So any of the fame that I had from X Factor and Virtual 11 and from what I'd done, I didn't manage to capitalize on that because my album came out the same week as Brave New World. That wasn't my intention. It was ready to bring out. All the artwork was done. Everything was done. It was mixed. It was mastered. It could have come out. If I'd had the right record deal, it could have come out in February. And I think it would have been a little bit of a different story then for Silica Messiah. So now, all these years later, 25 years later, now I'm playing the tour that never happened for Silica Messiah. So, but with the advantage, everyone knows the album already. So I'm not going out saying, okay, here's Silica Messiah for the first time. Almost everyone in that room has heard Silica Messiah and has access to it in a way that just didn't exist when I left Iron Maiden.
But talking of record deals as well, Blaze, so the album came out on SPV. What was it like in terms of getting a new record label after leaving Maiden? Was there lots of interest?
It was no interest at all.
Wow.
And I now wonder, now, I don't like to look back too much, but I often wonder.
Sorry, we're making you do an entire session of looking back then.
If I'd started my own record label back then and got out of the system then and got away from the machine then, how things would have happened for me. And I don't know if I'd have been able to keep that band together. Great bunch of guys, great musicians, incredibly creative when we were all together. I don't know if things would be any different right now, but now I have got my own label and it's just me on that label, and I have distribution around Europe and different countries in the world. Then you think, well, really, if I'd have been my own master then, I would have had the album out in February. And really, instead of doing some of the things, what if I just bought that tour bus I wanted and lived on it? You know, that was that's what I really wanted to do. I'm a tour rat really back then. So I didn't have any children, nothing to stop home for. So that it would have been a different way to look at it and build up in a different way. I don't know, but that's one of the things that I think about. I don't think really that it had any real big benefit for me being on SPV. You have to sell 60,000 copies. Well, back then, you had to sell 60,000 copies of your CD. And then you'd get enough money that you could just about make a living, and you could do okay if you got over that, which was about what Saxon did back then. And this is all before Spotify. So that was different. I don't know. I wasn't in demand. I was a pariah. You've finished with a top band, and people don't know the truth, and they make assumptions. So one of the assumptions is, well, what if he's no good? What if he's an alcoholic? What if he's a drug addict? Why isn't he in Iron Maiden? The fact that EMI wanted Bruce to come back to Iron Maiden because they got Rob Halford had gone back to Priest. Priest came up a bit, and Black Sabbath got together. They went up a bit. Why? Because CD sales worldwide are ending. EMI sold every factory they had when I joined Iron Maiden. So the biggest record company in the world that made all these millions of CDs, we're going, oh, we're not going to make any now. We'll outsource. What? How is that possible? No, they were looking at a different world. They were looking at a world of streaming and making your money off the artist in a different way to what they were doing back then. So that was what was really changing. Iron Maiden CD sales weren't going down because they were making bad albums. They were just going down because they were for everyone. Everyone. Yeah. So that was the difference. The game was changing. The industry was changing. That was it. I missed one opportunity there, which now I'm capitalizing on. I play live in small venues, intimate venues, and I keep playing and going back, and I have a loyal fans that come and see me, and I do my best for them. That hasn't changed, but it's taken a long time to reach my audience. A lot of them were there, but I didn't manage to say, hey, listen to me, see what you think, and then find out how many fans I've got. So that's the big difference between now and then. Now I can use streaming and Spotify and all of those things. I'll get suggested on there.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing that we didn't have back then. My exposure to my potential fans who would love me if they only knew about me, now that's a lot more than it ever was back then.
I mean, it sounds like back then everything was sort of in the lap of the record label gods, and it was sort of at their behest that everything happened. I mean, you mentioned part of the reason why you exited Maiden was because EMI were putting pressure on the band to bring Bruce back. When you left the band, did you know Bruce was coming back? Had that kind of been shared with you?
Yeah. And I wished them well. I said, guys, I wish you the very best. And my exact words were, the world must have Iron Maiden in it. It does. Because culturally, in the Western world and in pop culture, Iron Maiden is so important for what they've done. Nobody's done what they've done. They've surpassed Deep Purple in what they did now. So it is important. I've seen every side of it, from a fan, from being in the band and after the band, all the business side of it. And culturally, as a part of pop culture, Iron Maiden are as important as Star Wars. That's what I'm talking about. Real pop culture that we all live with. Iron Maiden, they're not as important as the Beatles. They're as important as Star Wars, which is very important in pop culture. And I felt that for a very long time. So for me, Bruce coming back to Maiden is a great thing, because it's more energy coming into Maiden. And Bruce came back full of hope and energy, like, yeah, we can do it. We can get to the top. We've got all the tools that we need to be bigger and better than we were before. So I think he came back and he did a great job, and he's still doing an absolutely fantastic job with his presentation and the way that he is on stage. He's an icon. He's somebody that the rest of us look at and go, man, well, when you talk about the top, there's the guy at the top. So it's a different, he's playing a different game to the rest of us. That's the level that Bruce Dickinson is at. And when Bruce is on a good night, he's just the best in the world.
Definitely, yeah. When Silicon Messiah came out, though, so we're still like in the very early 2000s here. This is very much the height of new metal, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, bands like that. Do you think that affected the way you were perceived as well, or trying to get a solo career off the ground? It felt like it wasn't, the climate wasn't really there for traditional heavy metal back then.
Absolutely. But more in the UK than anywhere else. In the UK, metal was dead. They said Maiden was dead before I joined. It was like, oh, no, it's grunge. Everything's going to be grunge now. That's all of that. And Kerrang magazine slating Maiden. At the time that Kerrang was saying Maiden should retire and just give up, we were playing to 10,000 people a night on a second tour of Spain, because the first tour went so well it all sold out. But Maiden's over. No, you are arrogant pricks. You think you are more important than fans. Well, you're not more important. You're shit on the shoe of metal fans. And your opinion is worthless, because you know what? You never bought your CD, did you? And you never bought your ticket, and you never made your own way to the gig. You were taken to the gig by the record company, who gave you the CD that you probably didn't bother to listen to more than once, even though it's taken hundreds of hours to make. So as far as I'm concerned, they were just absolutely, man, just the worst that they were saying about Maiden. This incredible British icon, made all this great music over the years, and on the X Factor, so much great music. And you're telling me that The Klansman isn't a great song? Or, Future Real isn't a great song? You can't look me in the face and tell me that and be telling the truth. You can't be, because, well, you'd be someone with even more severe mental problems than what I've got. So it's horrible, man. That's horrible. Yes, they were all saying, oh, Machine Head this, Machine Head that, grunge this, yeah, new metal this, everything. You're exactly right in what you're saying. So in the UK, it was like, oh, no, metal, heavy metal, oh, it's past, isn't it? It's just gone now. So, well, come to my gig and come to somebody, one of the people I was competing with at the time, I don't say colleague, and just tell me then which is just listen to my song and listen to them, just tell me. Limp Bizkit, they've done some great music, some great stuff, but why does it have to be that we can't coexist? Why can't you like break stuff and stare at the sun? Why? What world? I'll tell you what the world that the journalists at that time wanted, and they're scum and shit.
Fair. That's a good point. Well argued. I mean, it feels a bit like when Silicon Messiah did come out, like you're coming out with this album in a quite aggressive environment towards traditional heavy metal. Like you say, you're kind of placed in competition with other bands rather than being treated as their peer. And I guess the one thing I can't really get my head around is you mentioned before that when the album comes out, you weren't able to tour it. And what?
No,
I
I didn't say that. Let's be clear on the choice of words. Wasn't that I wasn't able, but the incompetent manager that I had did not book. I was available, man. I was in a band of 5 hungry men, 5 men that were willing to die for their music. It wasn't that we weren't able, it's that they didn't book a single show to promote the release of the album.
But why? That seems such a strange decision to me.
It's not strange. It's completely incompetent. That's what it is. Incompetence and laziness and who knows what else. I don't want to go further down that road because that's something for a conspiracy podcast, not this one. But that's the thing. We were up against it. We weren't fashionable. But in Europe, we could have toured. And in some places in the UK, we could have toured. And not once. I had a manager at the time. You don't go against your manager. That's one of the golden rules. And that was it. It just all went wrong. So it failed.
So then what happens next? You've got Silicon Messiah coming out within a week of Brave New World, which is a really difficult circumstance. You're not allowed to tour to support the album. It kind of feels like the album kind of drops and nothing happens.
It just failed. It's stillborn is the way I describe it. The album it never had a chance to reach its audience. That's it. Any momentum from a business point of view, like they say in the music business, any momentum I had was lost. That was it. So that was it. The dreams of what I think a really good album, and some of the songs on it are just a great. And of that, finding its audience and the people that would have liked it, it just couldn't do that. And then I think, the change in fashion, there are new bands coming out. If you think about what happened to Maiden, that I think, Soundgarden were offered the support slot for Maiden in the US, and they just turned it down flat because they didn't want to be associated with heavy metal. That's wow. Let's not forget that. That's what was happening. Before then, support slot for Maiden, yes, please.
Yeah.
It will put me in front of thousands and thousands of fans. But then, at the time, I really liked Soundgarden. I thought it was a foolish decision. And that's what started breaking the scene apart. So the scene now starts being divided in a horrible, not just unfortunate, but a nasty way, where these people from this music are saying that this music is not just unfashionable, but you're stupid if you like it.
How does that experience compare to your next 2 albums then, Blaze? Because shortly after you put out 10th Dimension and then Blood and Belief comes out as well, both really great records. Do things start to pick off? Do you feel like you're gaining a bit more traction as those kind of records progress?
No, it's just getting worse. I made 10th Dimension with all the hope, the guys that was working with Steve Ray, John Slater, Jeff Singer, Rob Naylor, Andy Sneap producing again. We rehearsed, had an idea. It was a concept album. John Slater did a lot of the artwork for it as well. And it was a big idea that we were doing. The idea that you are developing a time machine. You're working for someone, you don't quite know who it is, and then they come to take all of your research and everything away. It's actually the government, and you didn't know you were working for them. And they are going to weaponize the time machine, and you need to stop them. That's the concept of the 10th dimension.
Nice.
So which in physics at that time, it was theorized there could be 10 dimensions. So that was the idea of it, and we had high hopes of that. And then the same thing, the release date that I was working towards, it was, the manager I had at the time, we want to change that. The record company wanted a different time again. Well, that's weird, because they told me that I was going to go again for February this time. Oh no, we don't. They don't want it there. They want it then. Also, that's really weird, and that failed. So I had some more gigs though, because by then I managed to start sorting things with an agent and things, and then I didn't get a single royalty from those first two albums. They just did nothing compared to the cost of them. And then Blood and Belief, we lied to the record company about the budget for Blood and Belief. So we made as live as it gets, I think, and Blood and Belief for the money that we told them we were making Blood and Belief for. We made 2 albums, and Blood and Belief, man, the band was falling to pieces by then, and Jeff Singer left as the drummer, and Rob Naylor left, which I don't blame them for at all. I've got no ill will. They did what they had to do for them. They did the best for them. That's what you have to do at the end of the day. And I wrote the album with John Slater and Steve Ray in a bit of a different way. And they had some musical ideas, and they left me with those, and then I worked about, 80, 100 hours for a couple of weeks on that music and on the lyrics and finding everything. And I don't know how we did it, but it came out really good. And it was a new studio. Andy Sneapard, he'd built at that time, he built a new studio. It was an old building, an old barn, stone built barn, small barn, and he fitted it out as his own studio. He'd saved and saved and saved so he could do it, and we were the first ones in. So because I was the first artist in there to record, he just gave me a mate's rate. And because halfway through you'd be recording and you go, hang on, I don't know why this speaker's not working. And half an hour later, okay, we got that on. Oh, the lights have gone out. I'll have to wire that back together. And it was fantastic to have that opportunity. And we were kind of the guinea pigs for the studio. So by the time we left, everything was working perfect. Not when we arrived, but it was great. It was a great opportunity, and we stayed close. We were all together. So it was good, but that was it. There's a song called Life and Death and Blood and Belief. Those 2 songs really say everything about what was happening at that time, because Blood and Belief, it was my blood and my fans were my belief, and I felt I was getting pushed away from my audience, that I was being separated from my fans, and that's why it's Blood and Belief. They take from me my blood. It felt like, they're taking away my fans. My fans can't actually find out or see what I'm doing. They just don't know. And then Life and Death, it was life and death. I'd sacrificed just about everything I had so I could keep making a record, so I could keep going, because I still believed that it could be done. And then that was it. At the end of Blood and Belief, I was dropped by the record company, and I'd lost everything. I had to start again from nothing.
Wow. I mean, that sounds like it was a creatively exciting period for you, but practically very difficult.
Horrible.
How did you find, how did you kind of get back on your feet? Because obviously in the last decade, you've done anniversary tours for Silicon Messiah. I think you did a 15th anniversary. You're now doing the 25th anniversary. What kind of led you to re-embracing that material again and kind of re-embracing that period of your career?
Well, I had to get a regular job, and I remember one of the guys at work saying to me, "How's your band going?" And I said, "Not very good. I'm the only one in it." Everybody left.
Yeah.
Just everybody left. Had nothing. Had to start again. And what you realize, or what I realized then, is there are some people, I didn't know them, but they found me. There's some people that really liked those two Maiden albums, and they liked Silica Messiah, and they had got just a few people. And occasionally I'd get a phone call that said, "Oh, would you come and sing a few songs with us? And would you come and do this? Or could you do?" And just bit by bit, I had nothing for my music for ages. And I'd more or less, I'd kind of given up really, but because there were fans, fans wouldn't say to me, "Why you working a regular job?" They'd say, "When's your next album?" So my fans still believed. And that's what made me believe again. And I did guest vocals for different bands. And I went and sang with different bands as well as a special guest and things like that. And I'd meet fans, and slowly I started to get more work as a singer until I didn't have to have a regular job anymore. And my fans made me believe that it was possible. And I never doubted my ability as a songwriter because I'd been in Iron Maiden and I'd had a top 10 hit around the world with Man on the Edge. So it wasn't that it wasn't good enough. It's just nobody knew about me.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't need that many fans. My fans stick with me. They're loyal, but the fans that the people that would be fans if they knew about me just didn't know about me. So it was about getting to those people and doing things that were right. And I was drinking back then as well. I was depressed. I was drunk. I was battling suicidal thoughts and bouts of depression and all sorts. And that's the big difference, is coming now to the situation I am now. I've managed to work out, you know, it took me quite a few years. Oh, would it be better? Probably drinking doesn't suit me. It's not the best health choice for me mentally, is it, drinking? So I don't drink, and that doesn't get rid of my mental health problems, but it does mean that I can face them with a bit more strength, and they don't knock me so far down as when I was drinking, and they don't last as long as when I was drinking. I don't make so many stupid choices and have so many regrets. Stopping drinking doesn't make you a better person at all. You've still got that journey ahead of you, but it will make things a little bit clearer. And for me, I'm not saying it's for everybody, but just for me,
sure,
you know, I'll go, all right, yeah, I'll stop that. And that's really it. So it's about 12 years ago, and I was incredibly lucky. It was a bit longer than that. Thomas Fison, the wonderful classical guitarist, reached out to me. He said, "Would you come and sing a couple of your old Maiden songs with the classical guitar?" I said, "Yeah, all right." And that was a bit of a start. And then and then about 12 years ago, Tom Svison and me were in Manchester at a pub up there called Grand Central, and Chris Appleton was doing the sound. And after the gig, he said, "If you want to try again with metal," he said, "I think we can do it." I said, I really think we can do it. I said, "I'll be your band. I really think that we could do it." And that was the start, really, then, of
Right.
a comeback, but more than a comeback in a way, because actually I'd just gone down and down and down. And it was really starting. It was the third time then, because I tried again with The Man Who Would Not Die. I got a wonderful band together for that.
Yeah.
Man Who Would Not Die and Promise and Terror. I mean, they're fierce albums. And we managed to get a bit, and then that went down. So yeah, then that was it, really. And then Chris and I started. We did Soundtracks of My Life tour, and which was kind of a greatest hits thing. Then we said, you know what, let's have a crack at Silicon Messiah. And we never had that tour the first time around. So
Yeah.
booked over 30 shows. You know, well, I say that in my show now. Booked over 30 shows around Europe, and that was a start. And now we've got, I think it's more than 30 shows on this tour. And everywhere we've played, the pre-sale on the tickets has been more than any of the shows we did on the 15th anniversary. So
Wow.
That's amazing.
it's an incredible start. I still count myself lucky because of fans that I have that were with me way back then are still with me.
So looking to the future, Blaze, could you see yourself maybe doing something similar perhaps for the 10th Dimension,
Yes,
Blood and
so
Belief?
what I'm
Because
gonna
those are
do
great albums as well.
I'm going to play the 10th Dimension complete. That's the idea. In November,
Right.
we're going to play 10th Dimension complete with the bonus tracks. And I'm going to do 10 shows in 10 different countries, and they're all going to be very expensive. That's it. I'm only going to do it once. And some of those songs, a couple of them, especially the bonus tracks, I've never played. Others have been in and out of my set list, like Man on the Edge and
Yeah.
things like that. And I thought, you know what, it's time for that to do it. My voice has changed so much. While I've still got this voice and so much of it, then I feel I can sing those songs even better than when I recorded them, because of the experience and what I've learned about my voice and how I can use my voice much better than I did back then. You just learn, it's just experience. So yeah, I'm going to do 10th Dimension. Keep an eye on blazebayley.net for announcement. I think the French show has been announced and the German show has been announced. And I think maybe the UK show is announced where I play 10th Dimension. So you have to have a look out for it. Do you think, though, that anybody's going to be interested in that, hearing 10th Dimension in full?
I mean,
You've
for
got
me,
two people here.
Yeah,
So.
10th Dimension is actually my favourite Blaze. It was the first Blaze album I got because I was a little bit too young for Silicon Messiah. I would have only been about 10 or 11, but by the time 10th Dimension came out, I was 14.
Sorry. 10th Dimension, I misheard. I mean X Factor.
Oh, X Factor. Oh, yeah,
okay.
I think definitely. Yeah, I think if
I
anything.
said 10th Dimension because 10 being X in Roman numerals.
Yeah.
Got
I
yeah.
keep thinking of it. So it's not 10th Dimension. COVID killed the 10th Dimension tour. It was all planned. We were getting stuff for it. And then COVID came and we couldn't do the 10th Dimension tour. That's what I'm doing. So no, what I meant to say was the X Factor anniversary tour, 30 years of X Factor. And I'm going to play the album complete.
I mean, a lot of people are going to be really excited to hear that, because I think, if anything, in retrospect, more people are reappraising that album. You know, I think more people, you find a lot more people defending the X Factor now than perhaps you did at the time of its release. It seems to have it kind of really found its audience as the years go on, that record.
At the time, people were very emotional.
Yeah.
And it was like, I suppose, like your girlfriend had just left you for your best mate with Bruce Dickinson going from Maiden. That was the feeling. And I was I was not popular choice with every Maiden fan. And I think a lot of people just couldn't listen to those albums without feeling upset and cheated in a way. Whereas now the emotions are calm. They've got plenty of newer albums with Bruce singing, and they're really good. So you can go back and put them in perspective, okay, of their time and that situation. And then you can find some wonderful, wonderful music, just incredible music. So, yeah, I think you're right. People do listen now. And of course, never forget that Maiden are always getting new fans as well, because they're a legend. So fans who go down the rabbit hole, find all those albums, including Paul's albums for those first two, and then find my albums, they don't have that emotional baggage that a lot of the fans that came to Maiden with Bruce had. And that's where I score, I think. People are a lot more open and they go, okay, well, it'd be nice to see. I'm so much better than I was back then as well. I was growing and developing as an artist and a performer back then, where I feel I'm much better now than I was back then.
I think it must have been, and please tell me if I'm wrong, but it must have been really hard growing and developing as an artist on such a public stage. Like Iron Maiden is one of the most public bands you could have been in to be at that point in your career. So yeah, I think it's exciting that you're kind of at a point where you've developed even more and you can revisit that material. It's
nice because it's like seeing old friends with new clothes. That's it. The song is the same. I don't do it identical to the record. I don't copy the record. I go, all right. So me now, Blaze Bayley, 2025. What's the sound? What are the key parts of that song? And also, what are the bits that I think may be missing? And what are the bits that I think really I'd do that a bit differently now? I'd take this breath in a different part of the bar. I'd put a different emphasis on this word. So essentially, the song is the same when you listen to it, but it has a different energy. So that's what I do whenever I go back to one of the songs I did with Maiden from X Factor and Virtual 11. How am I doing it now with the sensibility that I have now? And so far, no fans have complained about the way that I do those songs. So maybe they're scared to. I don't know. That's it. I enjoy doing it that way. For me, and this is the same as the job that we do in Wolfsbane as well. It's the album is the album and live is live. So the difference between reading a book and watching a movie, there's always more in the book. But live is the movie. That's where you get everything together and give an hour and a half of adrenaline or entertainment. The book is something you read at leisure, pick up, put down, stuff like that. So that's the album. You put it on whenever you want, as much as you want. But live is just that moment. So that's the way I treat it with my own work, with Circle of Stone and War Within Me. Both of those albums, I don't go, we're going to do this note for note, the same as a record. I go, okay, what's the core of the song? That's what we have to really get over to people.
And Blaze, you mentioned you're going to revisit the B-sides as well. Sorry, you're going to forgive me a very nerdy question here, but does that mean, are you going to play Justice of the Peace?
Yes.
Because I think that is
Yes.
such an underrated Maiden B-side.
That's worth the
That is
price of
great.
entry
I'm
alone.
going to do them all. It's like, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it all. Because
Oh,
you know
amazing.
what? I felt very shortchanged that those songs didn't make the X Factor. I'm like, I felt like, well, we ran out of time in the end, and I thought they should have been on the album, and it would have given us a different energy and intensity to the X Factor. So I always felt that, though I'd never bang on about it, this is years down the line. So, and it's a different format, it's a different forum. So yeah, I always thought they should be on the album, and I thought they were good enough to be on the album. Whether you think that, I don't know, but that's my thoughts. So I want to do them because I feel I can do them really well.
I mean, yeah, there'll be a lot of people who are very excited to hear that, I'm sure. So I guess we're sort of coming towards the end of the interview now. Obviously, thank you so much for your time again. I mean, it's an absolute thrill to be able to talk to you. We've not really had anyone on the podcast before who can actually say they've been a member of Iron Maiden. So this is such a treat for us.
Yeah.
When we've interviewed other musicians, we usually ask them what their favourite Iron Maiden album is. And so obviously it's a bit different asking someone who was the front man of Iron Maiden. But maybe if we take Virtual Eleven and... Oh, go on, sorry.
It's easy because it's Seventh Son.
That is the correct answer.
So
That's the answer everyone has said so far.
That is, yeah.
That's from being a fan from just going back before Power Slave. I saw them Power Slave, and what was the next one? I saw both those tours. So going way, way back, and then being in a situation where you've got to learn 10 songs. So what would happen is I would be learning these 10 songs, and then I think it was actually Seventh Son, the song was one, and Clairvoyant, I think, was in the set list at the time. They were on the list to learn. So what would happen is that album would just end up staying on. And all the other albums, I would go, okay, I've listened to that, now on to the next one, listen to that. But for some reason, Seventh Son stayed on, and that's why I know, there's just something about it. So much great music and the sound of the album, and I love concept albums, even though they're so much work. But I do love a concept album, and Maiden doing a big concept, it was just so cool. So that one really, it's got so much great music on it. I love a lot of Maiden, and there's still I can, without prejudice, I can still listen to quite a few songs, and maybe my very favorite Maiden song is Wasted Years. It's a big sentimental value for me. That's not on Seventh Son, but yeah, I think Seventh Son definitely. If you have to choose one to take to the desert island, which is impossible, for me, Seventh Son.
I think you're in good company. As we said, everyone we've asked so far has said Seventh Son. It's also our pick as well.
It's a great choice, yeah.
It's a strong choice. Strong choice.
So where can people go to learn more about the tour dates, Blaze? You're on social media, of course.
BlazeBayley.net. Go there and go to wolfsbaneband.com. Really, that's the starting point. Everything that's official is up to date. There's no fluff there. You can find everything. Also, you can visit my shop and the Wolfsbane shop as well. And yeah, that's it really. All I would say is don't be afraid to stream me. I'm not anti-streaming. If you've got Spotify or any of the streaming services, you should be able to find Blaze Bayley on there, and you should be able to find a bit of Wolfsbane on there. So stream me if you don't know me. See if you like it. Just have a listen to the Circle of Stone album and the Silicon Messiah album if you have time. That's it. Give me a chance. and I don't expect you to become a lifelong Blaze fan, but if you do happen to like it, I'm on tour and there's plenty of chances to come and see me. And your meet and greet, when you come to see Blaze Bayley, your meet and greet is included. And I do sign my Maiden albums, but I have to restrict it to 2 or 3 items because I get a massive queue. And it's always when doors open, when the doors open at the gig, then that's when I'm there, and the meet and greet takes place for an hour. So if you want to meet me, if you want something signed, if you want a selfie, it's included in your ticket price. And the tickets for my gigs normally go from £20 to £30.
Oh, well, that's absolutely great. Yeah, and as I said, having been at the Swansea gig and having an absolutely wonderful time, would wholeheartedly recommend it for anyone listening. I guess we should just shamelessly promote our own pod as well on the social media. At Maiden Pod on Instagram, Twitter, X
nowadays.
Blue Sky, Threads.
Or you can always email us on maidenvoyagerspod@gmail.com. Share your thoughts on Maiden material, Blaze material. We'd love to hear all your opinions. But yeah, I think all that really remains for us to say is, other than obviously catch Blaze later this year, we really recommend the Silicon Messiah shows. I think the next one is in September. But thank you so much for joining us, Blaze. This has been a real pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Blaze.
Thank you, and good luck with your podcast. I wish you the very, very best.